Hey YouTube, good morning. It's Chuck. This video is going to be a little bit off message perhaps for most of the other videos I've been creating over the last year. But I was sitting early this morning before the sun came up with my laptop on my lap, and I was doing something that I bet a lot of you watching this channel are doing this time of year. You're watching YouTube. And if you're watching this video right now, or perhaps some other social media platforms that I might post this on, you're watching this video early in the bee season, or you're just interested. And that's what I wanted to talk about. YouTube and beekeeping. I've been a beekeeper for about 15 years now, and I learned almost this entire hobby by learning from others that I don't even know, I've never even met. And that's a pretty powerful tool. And I just want to say, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years. Some of you may have been doing it for 0 years. Some of you may not even be interested in keeping bees, but you're just learning or interested in something that someone else is doing or talking about. And that's what's fascinating about the sharing of social media content, especially educational content that has a nice purpose. We get to travel the world. We get to learn about all different types of beekeeping or any other type of skill. Off season, we get to watch the New Zealanders and the Australians in their summer while we're in winter. Or, you know, we get to prepare, you know, you guys might be watching me right now in Florida while you're up north. You know, I'm a couple months ahead of you. And I do the same in south of the equator also. So I think that all of us should recognize that craving information is healthy, and you never stop learning about this. And I want to talk a little bit about a few of the things that I continually am craving for each year. You know, every year we should have a few goals of things we want to change, perhaps over what we did last year, lessons learned, new tools, new techniques, new integrated pest management techniques, just things that we want to start over and do better each year. And that's what I'm doing right now by watching other beekeepers from last year, from several years ago. There are a few pioneers here on YouTube. I can think of Jason Chrisman, I can think of the Fat Bee Man, and a few people that aren't even making videos anymore. Skinny Bee Man, another one I loved watching. They were putting out great content before kind of fancy cameras and video editing techniques were really kind of refined like they are a little bit now. The YouTube algorithms and other sort of things helping us find content. And that is one thing I want to talk a little bit about is the YouTube algorithm. How you found this video, maybe you subscribe, maybe you don't, and that's okay. I do think subscribing helps the channel grow to reach other people, but honestly, I find myself subscribing to channels with people that I can relate to, or that when I listen to them talking, I feel like I'm just part of the conversation. Honestly, there are some people that put out beekeeping content on YouTube that are very educated and have a lot of information, but I just can't stand listening to them. I don't know why. Maybe it's the tone, maybe it's the attitude they have in the way they speak, but I just choose not to listen. And I think that's probably true even with this channel. But I would encourage you to go find people that the algorithm might not bring up to you based on techniques or things you're looking for that week using the search tool. You know, so right now I'm doing a lot of prep for my queen rearing process. So I'm using the search terms queen rearing, you know, drones, mating nukes, and things like that in the search term, and it's bringing up videos that are not popping up in my normal algorithm based on the subscriptions I have. I would encourage you all to do that based on things you're curious about. That's how you find content that is not normally presented to you. I also think that there's a variety of techniques that are being forgotten that we need to kind of remember in the apiary. And when I say things like that, I mean, obviously, Varroa, you're not going to find a lot of content on it from 10, 15 years ago. But there's things about using tools, carpentry, woodworking, nectar sources, pollen sources. These things haven't changed in decades. Maybe the tools for woodworking have changed a little bit. But I'm craving information on nectar sources in my region, and they're just not out there on the internet right now. I'm going to the University of Florida websites. I'm going to some books. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I started this channel, was to just create another touch point for hyper local information in Zone 9B here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I am, trying to document it. And I find myself looking at my own videos to remember exactly what I was saying just last year. So I can't wait for this channel to continue and give me a little bit more of a video log of my own history and my own notes and anecdotes that I talk about on video. But I think that's another tool. That's also the reason I put the date in the bottom of every one of my videos for my own log, and maybe for you to do your own sort of, oh, that was in January in Jacksonville. Well, I'm in North Carolina. I'm 8 weeks behind Jacksonville, or something like that. The last few days I've been watching a lot of videos about when to super up, how many frames of brood do you need in order to have your hives peak at the nectar flow. And gosh, there's so much information out there, but it's kind of buried in between, oh, by the way, statements. And what I'm coming away with is you want your hives to peak, obviously, just as the nectar is starting its main flow. That way, you prevent swarming, but at the same time, you have the largest source of bees available. Well, where do I want my hive to be 2 weeks ahead of the flow? What I've kind of learned is you need to kind of be at about 7 to 8 frames of brood, because a booming hive is going to add about a frame of brood a week, especially if you're feeding, maybe even more. So 2 weeks, 8 frames. Maybe if you're 4 weeks, 6 frames. If you're about 6 to 7 weeks out, maybe you only need 4 frames of brood. But that obviously depends on how often you're going to go check your hives. But what I found in watching these videos is I gotta think about where these folks are. A lot of the videos I've been watching recently have been up in the Carolinas, Asheville, in kind of the southeast region, but definitely further north than me. And they're talking about flows that happen on May 1st. Oh my gosh. Last year I measured my flow here in Jacksonville using my hive scales, and it was March 14th. I'm looking at my watch going, oh my gosh, that's only 6 weeks away, from, here, I'm sorry, it's a little bit more than that, but it's about 6 weeks away from when I'm gonna be starting my queen rearing process here at the beginning of February. Right now it's January 5th, so it's about 8 weeks away from that. Anyway, timing is everything in beekeeping. So if you're watching videos from another part of the country, you got to do your own mental math. And some of the cues to key off of are when your main nectar flow starts, and of course, when your winter is. Here I am out here in Jacksonville today, and it's about 55 degrees, and it's going to get up to about 70. My bees are going to be flying all day long. That's different beekeeping than just, a few hundred miles north in the mountains. But I'm going to round this out and just saying that's the beauty of YouTube. We get to absorb information that is attractive to us, that we like to listen to. We get to take in information whether we want it or not. We get to pick and choose what we think will help us that year. It's a little bit like having mentors all over the world, but perhaps without the follow-on and guidance. And that's another important thing here. If you're doing YouTube kind of like I did, and you don't have an actual mentor in your area, you're not going to get constructive criticism on the things you do. You're going to have to be your own best constructive critic. You're going to have to learn from your mistakes, perhaps. So I would encourage anyone to find a mentor, join a local bee club, seek out advice, ask questions. And also, the YouTube comment section can be used like that. In this channel right here, feel free to ask all the questions you want. I answer almost every single question that is constructive and well written, meaning like if you're not just kind of trashing on what I do, I usually ignore those kind of comments that are not constructive. So mentorship is important. I would seek it out. I'm taking my journey here towards Master Craftsman in Florida, and a lot of the things that the state of Florida asks us to do in our beekeeping journey is extension, outreach, education to non-beekeepers. Content like this doesn't even count towards my master certification because I'm communicating to beekeepers almost exclusively. So I need to go out into other parts of the town and the city and find non-beekeepers that are interested in pollinators, gardening, and the different things where the honeybees influence our ecosystem. Well, I really didn't know where this was going to go. I don't take notes or have any agenda when I talk. I just kind of get the moment and wanted to say something. And today it was about YouTube and how it can really be a tool for all of us to find information, seek out information, and to absorb what we're interested in. And maybe a few tips on how to use it best for you over what I've learned over the last 10 or 15 years. And guess what? If you got a camera, pull it out. You may never even post it. Use your iPhone if you want. It's also a great way to log what you do, even if you don't want to post it on any social media platforms. Anyway, thanks. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoy this type of content. I love your comments down below. If you think the right one, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one. We got a lot of work to do this spring.